from the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. Glad you're with us tonight. Really interesting topic. We are talking about an initiative that's going on at the Nashville Public Library. And here's the bottom line. If you're a woman in Nashville or in our area, the public library wants to hear your story, even collect your story. And so we're going to talk about why they're doing that, what they have so far, and this entire effort. Happy to have with us Andrea Fanta. She is with the Nashville Public Library. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So this is called the Nashville Voices Campaign, right? And so what does that mean? I kind of described it, but what are we talking about here?
So this was really our opportunity to celebrate everyday women of all experiences, right? So for this time, we were not looking for the celebrities or the elected officials or the socialites you might normally expect. We were looking for regular folk like me who have meant something to someone. And in particular, we really made an effort to say women of all experiences. You know, at Nashville Public Library, all people are welcome all the time. So it was important to us to make it clear that we were casting the net for women of all experiences, all self-expressions, all identities. And it's been really lovely when you put the call out there to say, if there's someone in your life who you care about, tell us about them. I think it's rare. I think it's special. And it's definitely something that people have responded to. So we launched on August 18. And so far we're close to 100 stories that folks have shared with us. It's some beautiful, moving stuff. And we're really enjoying it. We're having fun at the library.
And why do you feel like this is so important? It is, and what will you do with it? So you're collecting these stories, and what do you do with them, and why is this so important?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for me and for the library, it goes back to two things. So the first thing is the library's why and wherefore to begin with. You know, everybody will kind of talk about how the library is not what your parents grew up in, it's not what your grandparents grew up in, but I do think something that the library has always been, and definitely is in Nashville, is a place where people matter. And there is something really gorgeous and fierce and bold about standing up and raising your hand and saying, I have something to say. And there's something really incredible about a community institution that people trust turning around in response and saying, we're listening. I really think there's a power in storytelling. I think there's a power in self-awareness. And there's just this transformative community building power that you see when you engage in this kind of exercise. The other thing for us is that this was our way to try to tie back to Votes for Women, which is a new-ish permanent exhibit and learning laboratory at the main library on Church Street. We opened during the pandemic, so we're always looking to get more visibility for this space. And it's really important to us to tell everybody in Nashville, this is a learning lab for you. If you've got something to say and you've got something on your mind, this is for you. You don't have to have money to get in here. You don't have to have any degree, any breeding. This is for people who have curious minds and something to share.
And so there's a picture, right, of the exhibit. And it opened during the pandemic. That was the centennial, the anniversary of when women received the right to vote as a result of the Tennessee legislature kind of putting them over the top. And so there was going to be a big deal about that and lots of focus on that, but then the pandemic interfered.
Yeah, so we made it work. We pivoted. We did actually, thanks to you all, a 35-minute streaming, fully televised opening. Nashville's youth poet laureate at the time, Alora Young, was kind of the star of the opening. She killed it. She did an amazing performance of a piece that she composed, especially for the opening. You know, everybody kind of sort of knows the story about Tennessee being the last state that flipped and enabled the ratification of the 19th. I think fewer people knew that when the 19th was ratified, cities across the U.S. had their churches and universities and schools ring their big bells in celebration. Well, Nashville didn't, ironically enough. So when we opened, you know, we figured we had a 100-year-old silence that we had an opportunity to break. So while people were on their iPads or at home or on their phones watching this streaming opening, Roseanne Cash made a cameo. She sang a little bit, and then she encouraged everyone to ring little handbells. If you were at Bicentennial Mall, the Carillon bells went off. If you were at a university or a school, all those bells went off. So it was a really, really lovely experience in the face of a really frightening and tough time.
Right. And I love what you're doing now. You're asking the community to tell stories, to tell stories about women that have impacted them, to tell stories about themselves, but maybe it's a woman who didn't have to be a CEO or didn't have to be an elected official. It could be your mom, your teacher, your next door neighbor, someone who impacted your life. And so how do they tell that story? Do they call? Do they write? How does this work?
So if they go to the library website, library.nashville.org, they will be taken to an online submission form, and it's super easy. You tell us who you are, you tell us about the woman that you're sharing your story about, and then you just share. You can go, give us as little or as much as you want. We've had some incredible stories emerge already. We're just having a ton of fun with this campaign. It's really a privilege to be able to just get paid to interact with people who are incredible all day long. It's just been a lot of fun.
We don't uplift those voices enough. And I like what you said earlier, that there is something bold about standing up and saying, I have something to say. And we don't listen enough in our society, right? I mean, often it's the loudest, most obnoxious voice that gets heard, and here's a chance for people to honor someone who made a difference in their lives, and no one's going to interrupt, and someone's going to listen.
Yeah, we did want to go really high and be really edifying and uniting with this campaign. And I think sometimes we take for granted that not everybody is told that they're special or that they matter or that they have worth every day. I mean, I happen to have an extremely high confidence level, I happen to think that I'm fabulous and legendary, but it's hard to walk through this world and retain that type of confidence. I mean, the world is going to try to chip away at that. So this is probably one of the most meaningful campaigns personally that I've gotten to work on. And I'm really, really grateful for the texture and the depth and the diversity and inclusion in the stories that we're seeing. I think that really speaks to what the library stands for. Again, a place where all people are welcome all the time, period.
So you're collecting these stories. Are they on display? Can anyone come and look at them? Is that the situation?
Eventually that will be. So we're going to get through the campaign. We're asking for folks to share their stuff with us until September 30. And then we'll wrap up, take a look at everything we have, and try to come up with creative ways digitally and then in the physical space to celebrate these everyday heroes.
This show at its best is listening. I've always believed that. You know, we're on for an hour. It's a chance for people to call in. It's not soundbite driven. So I would love it if somebody would call in. Maybe you've already called in and shared a story, or you're thinking about it. You can practice. But I like what you're saying. This is a chance to stand up and say, hey, I have someone I want to recognize, whatever, and give us a little bit about that. And we're going to take a break, but I want to hear from you. You've said that you would share some of these stories, which is so cool. So that's what we're talking about, the Nashville Voices campaign. We will take a break, come back, hear some of those, and if you want to share some, that would be even better. So there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We'll be back right after this.